Hello peeps. Today we are making vegetable chicken liver stir fry. The reason being is the last few times I've gone to pick up my grocery bundle because of COVID, there haven't been a lot of vegetables. Well, today there was a ton. And I've been eating freezer meals for like the past 2 weeks because there haven't been another way to get vegetables really where I live right now. So I am making up a massive batch of broccoli slaw into stir fry noodles with a bunch of, I got some basically like a curried squash soup, which I'm using as my base to cook the batch of broccoli slaw in. I just got a basic little bag of broccoli slaw here, and I've got literally, 6 bags of this. And most people wouldn't do this that live by themselves, but I do because I don't want to run out of veggies, and I'm like, if you see them, grab them. So I have 1 can of the broccoli sauce cooking in my big soup pot, which I'm going to try to pan. Can we do this? Okay, that soup pot right there has a bunch of broccoli sauce and chicken broth. Now the thing a lot of people don't know about chicken broth is bone broth is super good for you. But bone broth is also super expensive, or you need an Instapot to make it. I do not have an Instapot, and I'm not going to cook it in a crock pot for 8 hours because I hate the smell of bone broth cooking. It's one of the things that I loathe in the universe. So what I do is I just take my bones from my chicken, cook it into a broth, and I put that in with it because it still has good nutrients. I'm going to move this up so you guys can, let's see. Trying to get the best viewpoint here. Okay. Still trying to figure out the camera, peeps. Okay. Now I'm going to turn on the light. Ah, so much better. But this, I just added some soup with so that I'm not using a bunch of oil. I'm not really worried about oil in my diet simply because I typically use like a spray on coconut oil, or I use coconut oil in like a little jar. And I sometimes do splurge and use canola oil, even though I know it's not the best of oils to use, simply because it's easily available where I live. And I also do use butter a lot. And butter doesn't worry me when I'm cooking stir fries because I'm like, Julia Child, it needs more butter, you know? And I actually am a distant cousin of hers. But right now we have a bunch of like watery soup here. It's squash with the broccoli sauce. And what I'm going to do is I tend to salvage lids. And so I've got a lid on this. This one did not come with this. This actually goes on that pot. But anyway, it's a universal lid for all the pots. And right now I'm using both. So I'm going to do that. I also have some beautiful, it looks a little wilty, I know. But this is bok choy. For those of you who don't know, bok choy is absolutely wonderful in stir fries. And what you do is you just simply peel it apart. Some people wash it as a whole head. I don't because it gets sandy. And I don't like eating dirt or sand. And I just run it under my faucet. And then I'm going to get, I have a little plate here. I'm just going to chop it up. Now, some people do have a cutting board, which is wonderful. Cutting boards are great, but I don't want to spend money on a cutting board, and then I'd have to find a spot to use it. So I just use a really cheap plate I got that I don't really care about if it gets scratched up. I literally got this for like, I think the equivalent of like $1 in US dollars. So I'm not really worried about if it gets scratched. That's my bok choy. It's going to go in with the slaw. The reason being is it's kind of sturdy, as you can tell. It's like a little like celery. Also, some of the leaves on this I am going to throw away simply because they are too sandy for my taste. So and I know it takes a little more time, but I do kind of individually wash, especially the base, because that's where the sand rests. And there is nothing more unattractive than eating sand in your stir fry. And don't ask me how I know. But yeah, so going to chop these into really tiny pieces because I want to be able to grab it with my chopsticks, which is what I primarily eat with. And so, let me just dump that there. Now, I'm not cooking the chicken livers up at this point in time, simply because I don't have room on the stove to do this all at once, so I'm cooking this up in batches. This is literally enough stir-fry mix to last me about a week of meals. And again, I live by myself, so I'm typically eating like one big meal a day for about like breakfast time. And then I tend to drink power smoothies through the day with the whey protein. And it's not saying I won't have something at night, but not really a ton. So for my biggest meal of the day, I try to do that in the late morning. I'm not really an early morning person. So with that in mind, I just kind of have some food late morning. And I have a pretty large bowl of this. This will get you plenty of vegetables if you're worried about trying to get a bunch of vegetables into your life. I'm just going to throw this in the back pot here with the chicken broth. Because if you think about it, we have the broccoli saw with the carrots. That's about 2 servings of vegetables right there. Then we have the bok choy here. So that's 3 per dish. And then we're going to add in a bunch of other stuff. And I try to leave one sink when I'm doing this mass production thing, because I literally do cook about 2 weeks of food at a time when I do get a lot of vegetables in like this. And then I freeze half of it. Sometimes I even cook like 3 weeks of vegetables, because then I'm just done. Can pull it from the fridge or freezer. And then when I do get low on food at the grocery, I can pull this out and go, oh, I still have my vegetables. So, with that in mind, we've got our bok choy. And again, I'm just slicing it into big, hefty hunks. Throwing the other bad in there. I will put it in the trash bin after I'm done cooking. There's that. Now, I love the noodle gripper for when I make stir fries. The reason being is you can turn the stir fry very easily with the noodle gripper, especially the broccoli saw. It's really handy to just kind of pick it up, turn it around. Now for spices, you can spice this any way you want. I typically use like 1/4 to 1/2 bottle of soy sauce in my stir fries. This time I'm not doing it simply because I am tired and I do not want to have to go to the store after going to pick up my bundle like I do sometimes. And so I am just making this super simple, and I'm flavoring it with the soup mix that I got. I'm also, I have a nice pumpkin curry soup mix, which I'm actually going to pour. Plus this will give me some more vegetables into the back mix. And then to get all the goodness, because this is like an organic soup mix, I didn't pay a ton for it, but it's very expensive usually. So I'm going to just empty this with water into the back. And then we have all that powerful, healthy stuff of the pumpkin. I'm going to take a moment because my sink is not empty because I forgot to clean it out before I started this. So, if you have chances, especially, no offense, if you're not living by yourself and you have a bunch of people that live with you, it's always better to start by sticking everything you can into the dishwasher from the sink before you start cooking, so you don't have to sit there and go, what do I do because I have too many dishes in my sink, which can be a major problem sometimes. So, for me, I currently live alone, although that's going to change here shortly. So I'm like, I gotta prepare and strategize. And part of that is coming up with really good ways to handle it right now, especially because I live in a very small apartment with a rather small kitchen. So what I do here, I'm going to use the sink that has a disposal for my vegetable dump, And I'm not going to wash all my veggies into that disposal because I don't really trust disposals. I think they're wonderful, but they also are not foolproof. So with that in mind, I kind of give it a little, like 20% goes down the disposal, the rest is not. Now, I have some beautiful, beautiful little peppers here. They're sweet peppers, and they're going in here. So not only do we have broccoli, carrots, bok choy, pumpkin, but we are also now having all the health benefits of the vitamin C in these peppers. These are conventionally grown, so I'm going to just rinse them off a little bit because of pesticides. I'm not using a fancy soap, although you certainly could. It makes it so that you don't have to have hardly any pesticide residue. I'm just giving them a rinse because I'm not going to be freaking out. I mean, I'm going to make my best decision that I can, but I'm also not going to spend money for that stuff. Okay, now on peppers. A lot of people will look at this pepper and they'll go, I think I should slice it like this. But as someone who had to literally slice like a whole upright freezer full of peppers one summer, the easiest and safest way, because you can really split your hand when you're cutting peppers, is to slice them so that they're flat like this, and then to slice them with the smooth side down. What that allows for is you have a much less of a risk of getting cut. So I'm going to slice them open, dump the seeds. The other thing is, a lot of people don't know this. Peppers are nightshades if you study them. If you happen to be a Vata, which I am, we don't really normally have peppers agree with us. However, the way I have had a workaround for being able to have peppers as a Vata, and that pepper went bad, is I cook them to death. Now, this takes some of the vitamin C out of them. I fully realize that. But it also makes it so I can have the color and some of the health benefits and fiber of the pepper without the negative, sore stomach, feeling sick because you had peppers, even sweet peppers. It's really weird, but ever since I was a kid, I've never been able to handle peppers raw. I mean, if I had a pepper salad right now, it would not be good. So, taking the peppers, cooking them, a lot of people will throw the peppers in last minute and stir fry so they still have a bit of crunch. I cook them pretty much when I throw in like my broccoli, and that is when I throw in my peppers. Because otherwise I'm going to really, really regret having the peppers in there. Also, I have found you can get canned peppers with water. Those are absolutely wonderful because those have already been pre-cooked. I don't have to cook those to death because somebody's already done it for me. The main reason I use the peppers is simply for the color. Plus, even though I've cooked it to death, I still get one more vegetable, which I think is a good thing to do. So, and this will literally last me one batch of this, and this back burner probably has 2 weeks of stir fry in it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the store tomorrow and get some little tuppers, and then I'm just going to freeze them in like meal packs with some rice. So there we go. And I'm just using up all these peppers because they're very small, and this is a absolutely huge bin of stir fry. This is going to cook down. The thing people think is kind of weird about broccoli slaw is a lot of people eat it raw, but if you cook it down, you could literally fit like probably 3 bags of broccoli slaw in a huge pan. So with that in mind, I'm just going to do this. And empty that there. And they don't have time to cook their food. They busy with work and whatever and family. The thing I think is I usually get my groceries on Saturdays. And so I tend to come home and either cook up things Saturday when I get home, because I don't like having to sit there and go, I gotta go cook up, 6 bags of broccoli slaw. And so I just do it right off the bat. There's an old saying in my family, it's to eat the big frog first. And what that means is basically you do the things that you don't enjoy first, and then you move forward with life. But with that in mind, I just cook everything up first. I do enjoy cooking, but I don't enjoy cooking excessively. So having meals prepped and having it so that I can just go to my fridge or freezer and pull these out. And this literally, if you had a large family, this is going to take me about, I don't know, I'm going to sit and watch this, kind of, while I also watch an Asian drama or something fabulous. So I'm not going to be sitting here incessantly stirring over the stove. It's just going to kind of bubble and percolate. So I'm guessing with cleanup time, this is going to cook for about an hour, maybe, all told, when you finish chopping and cooking and all that. Now, the chicken livers are also going to cook, and that's probably going to take about another hour. But that has already cooked down. So I'm going to add another bundle of broccoli slaw to it. I do not keep the broccoli slaw when I bring it home. If I do, it's not going to be a good thing. It doesn't stay good. I mean, it stays good pretty well because it's a brassica, but I have my doubts, so I'm just going to throw it in. So we not only we've got broccoli, we have carrots, we have peppers, we have bok choy. We also are going to throw in some greens into this. When we get this cooked up, we're going to cool this down in another pan once it's done. And I'm going to cook up some greens. I've got some arugula and some Swiss chard, that kind of stuff, that I already cooked up last week. And I'm just going to throw it together in a huge pan, because I really like having fried greens. It's kind of a thing I just really like. So anyway, I'm going to come back to this pan. This is more of a cream soup base, so it's going to have a little bit of a different flavor. It's still squash. The other was a pumpkin curry. This is a squash soup. And I haven't been eating it, and it's been sitting in my fridge for literally like, I don't want to admit, but probably 3 weeks. And it's sealed and all good, so I don't need to worry about going past date. But I'm like, use it up instead of oil, and then just get it cooked up. So there's that. I'm going to wash the peppers, throw them in this one, cook that up, clean up my surfaces. The reason I'm doing that is that way while these are cooking down, I can cook these down, wipe up everything, and then I'm going to, once this is done, throw in the other 2 bags of broccoli slaw once it's cooked down a little more. And then I'm going to cook up my chicken livers, and I'm going to cook those up with some some tarragon and some chives. I also got some cilantro in my grocery bundle, which, if you guys don't know about cilantro, it is absolutely awesome. I've never tried it with chicken livers, so this is going to be kind of interesting. I'm also going to use some poultry seasoning, just so that it kind of gets a nice flavor. Chicken livers are not my favorite thing, but they were in my bundle, and I was like, it's a good price, just grab it. They're organic. If you get chicken livers, or any liver of any kind, do try to get organic, just because mass-produced meat has some toxic chemicals in it you probably don't want to be eating, and livers are the part of the animals that filter the toxins out, in part. And so with that in mind, I just wouldn't be eating non-organic livers. Now, when we come back, we're going to cook up the chicken livers. And I literally got way too many of these. They come in like little tubs. I don't know. And I'm just letting these sit up. They've been sitting out for a couple hours. I'm not worried because they were frozen solid and I have to defrost them in order to get them cooked. Although I wouldn't recommend setting them out like I do. But anyway, this is my soup. I'm going to use this to dump in here when I run out of the other soup. And I also have these nice, beautiful, organic yellow peppers. These are bell peppers, so they have different properties in them than the little other kind of peppers. So we're going to have broccoli, carrots, bok choy, the little sweet peppers. We are going to have the big bell peppers. And then we're also going to incorporate into that this beautiful arugula. I hate when they put them in boxes, but oh well. And then we also have, that's not, okay, just arugula, I guess. And I have a big batch of Swiss chard, which is already cooked up. It's going to be thrown in with the arugula. I'm going to wash the arugula just because it looks like it's had a little bit more wear than it needs to. Now, as you can see, this is starting to cook. Once this cooks down a little more, I'll be able to throw in another pack of the celery. And most of this is organic. The only thing that's not is the sweet peppers, I think. At this point, maybe the bok choy, but I think the bok choy was organic too. If you can get organic, it's always better than getting conventional. I also have some celery here. I'm remaining undecisive if I'm going to throw that in or not. Probably not going to do that, but we'll come back when we cook the chicken livers. Bye, folks.